everyone. So today we're going to discuss our workshop on instructional design models and UDL, and we're specifically going to highlight the revisions that we did based on the OSCAR rubrics we received and the feedback from our professor. So like I said, we did a course on instructional design models and UDL. So this is our course. If you look here, we started out with an introduction, and you'll see the workshop schedule, community forums, workshop introductions, so the meet the facilitator and the introduce yourself discussion board for the people taking the course. And then in the course, we have two modules. The first one is over instructional design models. That's about 4 days. And then the second module is Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, and it's about 3 days. So for each module, we have the overview. If we click on that, you'll see the overview where it has workshop objectives, module objectives, and module 1 activities. And then after that, we move into the module 1 resources. So this is our resource page, and it just gives the students taking the course a look into different instructional design models as well as graphics that go with each design model. And it gives the required resource and a little bit of a reflection after they complete this overview. And then we continue on into the module 1 activities. So this specific module has 2 activities. The first is a mini needs assessment, and the second is a create your own mini lesson. This is not a separate assignment. This goes along with the create your own mini lesson. Students uploaded their work to a discussion board and did a little bit of peer reviewing in the discussion board. And then we also have additional resources with an additional resource page. Module 2 is formatted the exact same way. We have an overview of the module with the objectives and the activities. We have a module 2 resource page. We have only one assignment in this module, which is the mini case study analysis, and then the module 2 additional resources and its page that goes with it. For each assignment, we created a little privacy policy overview within the assignment so that they know what the privacy policies are, so that is not a separate page within our workshop. And then just to wrap up our workshop, we have a little workshop survey that the students complete so that we can get some feedback on what went well, what needs to be fixed. And so students completed that at the end of our workshop.
Before we jump into the actual revisions, we want to quickly walk you through the process we used. We started by having our professor and 2 reviewers look over our course using the OSCAR 4.0 rubric. Getting that outside perspective was really helpful because it gave us a clear picture of what was already working well, along with a few small gaps in some areas we could improve. After we collected their feedback, we didn't just make quick fixes, we took their suggestions and connected them to some of the core ideas behind instructional design, especially the ADDIE model, and then layered in the UDL framework to make sure we were thinking about accessibility, flexibility, and overall learner experience. This helped us stay focused and intentional instead of making changes at random. In the end, that combination of reviewer input and design frameworks helped us shape a course that feels more polished, more inclusive, and more centered around what learners actually need. It was a really thoughtful process, and it made the final product much stronger.
So first we're going to talk about removing unused tools from the course menu. So one of the first recommendations we received was to remove unused tools, specifically the collaboration button and the Lucidchart tool from the course menu. This correction is small, but it has a big impact on course navigation. According to both reviewers, reducing visual clutter supports findability. It decreases cognitive load and helps students focus on what's essential. This aligns with instructional design principles that emphasize simplicity and clear pathways. It also supports UDL by reducing unnecessary barriers for learners who may feel overwhelmed by too many options. So if we look in the course here, we're going to go to Settings, Navigation, and these are all the apps that are available to students, and professors, teachers, facilitators can decide what needs to be present on the student side of things. And so if you go all the way to the bottom, you can use this little drag and drop, and you can drag items down to the bottom to hide them. And so we just hid collaborations and then the Lucid whiteboard. Now we're going to move on to our next thing.
Another big revision we made was creating a dedicated space for all the privacy policies related to the external tools we use, such as Zoom, Padlet, Google Slides, and Loom. Both of our reviewers mentioned that this was missing, and since the OSCAR rubric specifically calls for transparency around how student data might be collected or used, we knew it was something we needed to address. Adding this section really supports ethical course design and ties directly into UDL's focus on building a safe and predictable learning environment. Now, students don't have to guess or dig around to figure out what happens with their data. Everything is in one place, easy to access, and written to help them understand what each tool collects and why. Overall, this update makes the course feel more trustworthy and clear, and it gives students the information they need to feel confident using the tools we've built into the learning experience.
So if we look into our course, we made it easy for our students that take this course. So if you look in the instructions in the assignment, it says to screencast, use Loom, screencast via Zoom, and using Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint. And those are all of the privacy policies we have listed in the description as well. So students know exactly what the privacy policies are for each tool. Now we're going to move on to improving readability and layout. So one of the most impactful revisions involved restructuring the spacing and layout of content. We added more white space between sections, broke up long paragraphs, and reorganized information into more manageable chunks. The reviewers noted that the original layout was already strong, but these adjustments enhanced readability and reduced the cognitive strain on our students. This aligns with the UDL principle of multiple means of representation, making the content easier for all learners to interpret regardless of learning preferences or processing style. So if we go into our course, we'll start with the workshop schedule. You can see that we added more white space, and each day has its own heading with bullet points, and so this is very easily manageable to read. And then if we look down here into our module overviews, you'll see that there's more white space in between each thing, and each spot of the overview has a title and a heading. And if you look into the resources, we also made sure to add different headings and subheadings and the white space to make this easily readable and maintainable for our students.
The next thing we are going to talk about is adding alt text and improving accessibility. A big area we focused on during the revision process was accessibility. Our reviewers pointed out that several images either didn't have alt text or needed clearer descriptions, so we made sure to go through and update all of them. So as you can see on our Module 1 resource page, we included several images to explain the different models. And originally we only had the images, and so to make it more accessible, we went in and we clicked edit, and then we clicked on each picture, image options, and we added a detailed description about each image so that a person could gain the same information from reading the description without seeing the picture if they were not able to clearly. So we did that for each of these pictures, and we also did the same for our Module 2 resource page. We have several images on this page as well, and we went through and we added descriptions for all of them.
Now we're going to talk about enhancing module overviews with visuals. So one piece of feedback we really appreciated came from a reviewer who suggested adding visuals to module overviews. I believe this was our professor that suggested this. We incorporated relevant images to make the modules more welcoming, memorable, and visually engaging. So this change supports the engagement principle of UDL, recognizing that students benefit from having multiple entry points into content. Visuals also help anchor the instructional design concepts being studied, connecting theory to practice. So if we go into our workshop, we'll just get out of this really quick. And if we look at the Module 1 overview, we started with an image, and all of these images go with the theme of instructional design models, so puzzle pieces being put together to make it a more manageable style of content. And then we also did the same thing for Module 2 in the overview, and so we put UDL, Universal Design for Learning, and then just a couple different pictures to make it a little more welcoming than just looking at something like this with no text or with no pictures or images, because text can be sometimes overwhelming for students. And so adding this picture really helps with the engagement and interest.
Another way we improved our course was by adding rubrics directly into assignments and into our Canvas workshop. We integrated the rubrics directly into each assignment within Canvas. Both Oscar reviewers praised the clarity of our rubrics, but embedding them right into the assignment makes everything even more transparent. Students can now see the criteria before they ever start working, which really strengthens the alignment between our objectives, activities, and assessments. So if we look into our workshop, now on the sidebar, students can go straight to rubrics and have the rubrics for every assignment that they will be completing for the course. Also, when they are going to assignments, they can open it up, see the instructions, and then the rubric is right below so they can know their expectations. Another way this improved our course is that the rubrics are now fully accessible because they're built directly in Canvas rather than uploaded as images. This means screen readers can actually read them, students can zoom or adjust formatting as needed, and the content is much easier to navigate. It makes the expectations clear and more usable for everyone. All of this ties back to the design and development phases of ADDIE, where having clear objectives and assessment criteria is key. And it supports UDL by giving students explicit expectations up front and reducing any confusion. Overall, this change makes the grading process more transparent, more accessible, and more supportive of student success.
And so now reflecting on instructional design in UDL, and in reflecting on this experience, we realized how deeply instructional design models and UDL complement each other. So instructional design models like ADDIE helped us analyze the course structure, improve alignment, and build a logical pathway for learning. UDL helped us look at the course through the lens of learner variability, prompting revisions that made the course more accessible and inclusive. The reviewers' comments noted strong module organization, clear objectives, and thoughtful activity design. The revisions we made, especially around accessibility, significantly strengthened the learner experience. It was very beneficial to us to ensure that our course about instructional design models and UDL followed the very same principles we were teaching others about.
Overall, the review process pushed us to refine the course so that it not only meets standards but truly supports a diverse community of learners. The corrections, whether structural, visual, or accessibility related, enhanced clarity, increased equity, and made the course more aligned with both instructional design theory and UDL principles. This experience reinforced our belief that good course design is reflective and continual. With each round of feedback, the course becomes a better reflection of effective pedagogy, thoughtful planning, and learner-centered design. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed.